Welcome back to the channel. Happy Halloween, y'all.
Happy Halloween.
It's that time of year.
So we're going to be talking about our favorite Halloween.
Costumes as a kid.
Get ready to get spookified.
What the hell is spookified? Checking in, guys.
We're heading out on our next adventure.
So make sure you guys hit the like button,
Make sure to subscribe.
because when we hit 1,000 subscribers,
We'll be jumping off the strat.
so back to the video. So Halloween for me, probably definitely way different than it was for you, and that's mostly because we did not believe that Halloween was a holiday that needed to be celebrated. I remember probably maybe 3 times that I dressed up as a kid and was allowed to go trick-or-treating. Yeah. What about you?
So we'd get naked and go out to the woods. Oh wait, no, that was Sabrina the Teenage Witch, just horrible episode on Netflix. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, when I was younger, we would actually trick or treat.
I
So
thought he really did get naked and go out into the woods. I was like, wait, what? This is a story I've never heard.
So we would definitely trick or treat when I was younger, probably up to maybe middle school, and then after that, I kind of just gave out candy, especially in high school and stuff. I just gave out candy.
Just gave out the candy.
I didn't really do that much, but I do remember as a kid, going out, and we would go out right before sunset. So that's when you'd start, and then you just start going around. We had a big circle, so the road I lived on was about 2 miles long. And that's basically what we would do. We would just do the 2-mile circle, collecting candy, going house to house. It was a long night.
Yeah, so the first Halloween that I remember getting dressed up, I had to have been 6 or 7, and I was in gymnastics, and they were having a Halloween sleepover. I was not allowed to sleep over, but I was allowed to go to the party beforehand. And I dressed up as a Barbie princess ballerina.
So why weren't you allowed to sleep over? Did they not want you to sleep over, or was it
my parents didn't want me to sleep over because they were
just
like,
asking
"You're
for
not
clarification.
allowed.
I gotcha.
You're not allowed to sleep over." I dressed up as a Barbie princess ballerina.
A Barbie print. Wow, you went with a lot of qualifiers there.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. It's not just Barbie.
So what did that take? What
it was
made
like
that?
a leotard with leggings and a crown.
So what made you Barbie?
It was Barbie brand.
Oh,
It was a branded costume.
Oh, it wasn't
Like a
the
pre-bought.
plastic mask,
No,
was
no,
it?
no.
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 Oh, okay.
It was
so it's just in a bag with a tutu and
Yeah.
a crown. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And it was Barbie brand. So that was the first year, and I don't remember us doing any I didn't get any candy or anything like that I can remember. We just hung out, watched movies. We watched a movie, and then it was supposed to be a lock-in, and then I had to leave. So that was the first Halloween. The second Halloween, I was in middle school, and no, I was in 5th grade. I was in 5th grade, and I was a carrot. And my mother's friend made the costume, and I looked more like a pumpkin than a carrot.
Carrot, pumpkin, there's not really that much of a difference.
And that Halloween, she took me and my sister. No, my sisters didn't go. It was just me and her kids. And she took us to some of the neighborhoods in North Carolina. And we kind of went door to door, just a little bit, but we had to pretty much drive everywhere because everything is so spread out because it's so rural. So we did that. And then middle school, the church that we went to would have a fall harvest festival because Jesus loves the fall and harvesting, but not Halloween. So you were invited to dress up and go around the church doors to different things, and they would have candy and stuff.
Doors office doors or
okay, so if you've never been to a church, it's hard to explain.
I've been to plenty of churches.
So when you walk, so this was Kingsway off of that one road, Kismet. And so when you walked into the main doors, you have the foyer, and then you have like the main sanctuary, right? And those are behind doors, and that's the main hub of the building. But it was basically built like a circle because apparently
So the offices are around there.
are
Yeah.
like, so around them are a bunch of different like classrooms,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where they would have like youth group or like Sunday school or meetings or whatever. And fun story, apparently churches have like a big circular like congregation room because the devil can't hide in corners. I don't know if
Because
that's
the devil can hide in corners, is what you're saying. That's why it's a circle.
yeah.
You said the devil can't hide in corners, which would mean in a circle he'd be free to roam.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think it was supposed to be like a joke, like haha funny. I don't get it. Like, I think it's stupid. Whoever made up that joke, it's not a funny joke. It's just stupid.
I think there's some like legends about that, isn't there?
I have no idea. Maybe we should look that up for a future idea. Anyways, so you could go like around the circle, and there's probably like a good 20 to 30, because it's a big church. And like they would have like different things. So like they might have like bobbing for apples, or they might have like a ring toss, and then some of them would have candy.
So like each room would have different activities?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So like you could just like go room to room. And I didn't get dressed up that year officially, but my friend Noelle was going, and we were very into the Backstreet Boys at that point, and we decided that we were going to be Backstreet Boys backup dancers. We were just in street clothes because that's what backup dancers wear, is street clothes.
true.
So
Simple
when
outfit.
anybody asked us who we were like, we're Backstreet Boys backup dancers. And they were like, you're just wearing street clothes. And we're like, we're backup dancers. And then we would do the dance because we knew the dance. And we were we were cringy.
There was something.
We were cringy, but we were very proud of that because we did that like 2 or 3 years in a row.
So what kind of candies did you get from that event? Like or not even candies, what did they give you, I should say?
Like Tootsie Rolls.
Okay, so they're really cheap candy.
Yeah, Dum Dums.
So you didn't get like bobbing for apples where you actually got an apple?
No.
I've never actually bobbed for apples.
No, because like
I don't actually
it wasn't
know how that
really.
process works.
Yeah, it usually wasn't actually an apple in there. It was usually like some kind of ball.
Oh, that's boring.
And like if you think about it now, like you gotta really
Bobbing
be
for balls.
that, and the risk of somebody choking, drowning,
Well, Jesus will save you. Isn't that how the
all
church
those
works?
things. All those things.
So who gets the main hall then? Like, is that like the big celebration, or is that just
It
another?
was usually just like a place you could just go chill.
Oh, okay.
So like, cause I can remember like we would just go in there and we
So,
would
like
wait.
a safe space. Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
we were just like in there hanging out, cause we were church kids and like everybody knew who we were, so we pretty much got free reign of the building anytime we were there. And then Kelly, who was our friend as well, she was the pastor's kid, so like again, like we had connections. So we were the cool kids in the church, which if you think about it, are really cool kids. But we were the cool kids of the church. We ran that place. We ran that place hard.
Well, obviously, her dad's the pastor. He runs the place.
Well, he was only the associate pastor at that church, but we still ran that place because we ran that place. We were proud of ourselves.
So is that the most memorable Halloween you have then? Is that experience?
Probably that one.
So was that actually held on Halloween? Like, was that held on October 31st?
Yeah, that was actually held on Halloween as
Okay.
an alternative to trick-or-treating.
So they never did like a hell house at your church?
That was later. That was in my high school years.
Okay. Were they doing it then and you weren't invited, or were they not doing it at all?
That church didn't do it. The
Okay.
church in Fort Myers, the Assemblies of God, they did one every year. And that would kind of go like, I think the 2 weeks around Halloween time. But my first hell house that I went to was in North Carolina because, you know, the rural people, they really love Jesus. And so I remember our whole youth group, like a lot of my childhood was kids' church and youth group. Like those were my core people. And so we went to this one hell house, and I remember I liked this one guy that was in youth group, and I kind of purposely made sure that I was next to him when we went into scary places, because why not? Plus he smelled good, and he gave me his jacket at one point, so that was cool. I think I did good. I got his jacket. But you would go in, and like this was right after Columbine, so like this was like the beginning of like school shootings. So like school shootings for me they probably started when I was in middle school, and and obviously they've not gotten any better since then. But like the first room that you went into was this kid who like blows up his classroom, and you're just like, I feel triggered.
With like a grenade or like
No, like a fake gun, and they would like play
so
like.
he wasn't blowing it up. He was just shooting people in the classroom. Okay, I'm just
Yeah,
clarifying.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and like he would just like
Yeah, I get
pepper
it.
everybody, and they're like, "Oh God!"
I thought
and
you meant
like
he had like an IED and it exploded and there's like a flash and they're like, ah, I'm dead. That's what I was thinking.
I mean, probably would have made this scene a little less traumatic.
I don't know. Throwing limbs and stuff as the light flashes.
I don't know if they would.
Pretty
I don't know if
traumatic.
they would throw the limbs. I don't think they would go that far.
So a couple things. There were school shootings way before Columbine. So people out there watching this, just know that Columbine was the first real televised.
Yeah,
school
that was
shooting.
like the first, like where it really started getting like media attention.
And so I was wondering that. That's why I asked that question, because that's when, for me, as an older person, that's when I started noticing hell houses was significantly increased around the Marilyn Manson, Columbine, all of those things, and you started actually hearing about them more.
And they would do it like this like scary house, but there would like you would be the kid, essentially. You're one of the kids that gets shot in the classroom, I guess, and like you follow their story. You follow like two different storylines. One person goes to hell, and then another person
So
goes
it's
to
like
heaven.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Yeah.
So you got two different tracks. All right, so sorry about that. The camera overheated.
So going back to what we were talking about, so hell houses. So you take the role of one of the kids that was shot in the classroom, essentially, and you follow two different paths that they could take. And one is you go to hell and like you go through this hell scene. It's kind of spooky, I'm not gonna lie. Like it's dark and there's a lot of red flashing lights and creepy noises, and they definitely go to like the Spirit Halloween stores and get like really creepy stuff.
Can't imagine what they look like now with all the animatronics and stuff.
Yeah, so like you go through that area, you kind of like wind through it, and you walk through these houses just like you would like a regular haunted house. They're very interesting when you're walking through a church, because some of it you were like, okay, like you could see like they were just like the church doors, and you just like open the door and they would do the scene in the room, so it was kind of weird like that. And
So wait, so it was the same setup as the last place you were talking about, where you went to the rooms around the main place?
yeah, a lot of churches are set up like that.
Okay, so the different rooms would be different scenes from the Hell House. Okay.
And then I don't know how they did, like, I don't know where the hell scene was in the church. I don't know if at some point we walked outside, because I'm going to be honest with you, I was pretty freaked out. I didn't like that. It scared me a lot. And then you leave the hell scene, and then you go to the pearly gates, and the archangel, reads all the names in the book, and they're like, your name isn't listed here. And there's like a whole like scene going on, and the scene, like the actor's like, oh, but like I asked Jesus Christ into my heart, last week at camp. Are you sure? Like it's there. And then like they're like, oh yeah, we found it. Ha ha ha. Must have been like a mistake. 'Cause I'm sorry, that's a pretty big mistake. Like you were supposed to go to heaven and you almost got sent to hell. Like that's a pretty big error when it comes to
Really?
work.
That's the biggest problem you see in that scenario? Let me tell you the biggest problem I see in that scenario. The fact that you got shot in a school shooting and they're still like, you're going to hell.
Well, yeah,
What kind of
because
deity are you supporting at that point? Like, really, that point, that little kid that got killed?
I went to a lot of fire and brimstone churches that preach that if you were not right with God the moment you died, you can go into the dark, not the good place.
So basically, my understanding of the Hell House is just so our listeners know too. If you've never experienced them, they're really big in the Southeast for sure, but also in other religious areas they do them. So it's not just the Southeast. And it's basically the idea of you're going to hell. That's basically the entire thing.
To scare you into salvation.
To scare you, right? To scare you into going to church and giving them money for their coffers. That's really what it is. But
well, so after he like figures it all out, and like he's like, no, like you're good, like welcome to heaven. You go through this room and it's very like light and airy, and there's just like really good smells, and it's very like a lot of fog machines and bright lights, and then like Jesus comes out and he literally goes to every single person that's in the group with you and is like, welcome my faithful servant. I don't know, he said something else too, and like I cried.
Did the guy from the Holy Land Experience come down to do the Jesus scene, or was it a
doubt it was some small hick church in North Carolina?
So it was a third-party contractor.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah.
Isn't that also a sin, like pretending to be?
I don't know. They encouraged it a lot. Like, I did a lot of church plays. Like, we had a... Well, let me finish the Hell House, and I'll tell you about the church play.
Yes, please.
And so, like, we did that a couple years in a row, and we did to, like, 2 different churches. And, yeah.
So was it the same act both times? Or was it slightly different?
I don't remember. I think they were kind of this.
Just
They were
wondering.
the similar ideas. Like, something bad happens at school, you die, you go to hell, and then they do the whole heaven scene. And then, you know, when Jesus is walking around, he's like, "Oh, if there's anybody who wants to accept me into their life," and, like, you know, everybody's got their head down, eyes closed. That was the big thing. Head down, eyes closed. And if you want to accept Jesus Christ into your heart, you just raise your hand. Nobody has to know. It's between you and God. Like, there's a lot of that goes on, too. It's a lot of emotional manipulation.
Well, yeah, it's church in general. That's a cult in general. Let's be honest.
That is the environment that I grew up in. And that's what was cool. It was, like, cool to go to those things because, like, yeah, I'm safe. Like, that's right. I'm cool. Cool with God. Jesus is just all right with me.
There's not much else to do, though. You're in a small town in North Carolina. So.
Well, they still did it in, like, Fort Myers, though.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's what I said. In the Southeast, at least once Columbine happened, which was, I think, somewhere around, like, end of middle school for me, they really, like, upped the Hell House. It's like you constantly heard about them. Mm-hmm. You constantly are like, oh, this and that.
After Columbine happened, we went to a thing at one of the churches where they had people who were involved in Columbine speak. It was like this big, huge thing at this church. And I think it was one of the girls that the family wrote the book about her and how she said, like, oh, I stand up for Jesus. Because they really turned Columbine into this, like, Christian movement.
Of course they were. They turned it against Marilyn Manson and went all that route.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so, like, I remember we went to, like, this big rally. And we did that, and then, like, we did a lot of stuff like that when I was a teenager. And then the church that we went to when we went back to Fort Myers, Cape Coral, every Easter, we did, like, a huge Easter production. Like, this thing was huge. We had, like, the best singers in our church, which actually were pretty good people. We had, like, the best singers in our church, like, doing, like, these solos, and then we had, like, these, like, this acting, and we had dancing, and I was in, like, the first opening village scene. I was in the hell scene as, like, one of the demons, and I was at the end scene as well. And it was actually a lot of fun because I actually really did like theater when I was a kid. Like, I thought I wanted to be in theater and, like, movies and stuff. So it was like it was like an outlet for me to enjoy the things that I like to enjoy, but it was parental approved by my parents. So I went that route. So, but yeah, those were some interesting times for me in high school.
Sounds like an interesting experience for Halloween. At least you had something to do. I mean, positive side there.
Yeah.
Negative side is, is brainwashing.
Lots of it.
Lots of it.
Lots of PTSD.
So what was your favorite? So did you ever dress up in costume for Halloween? Or do you have a favorite costume that you wore, even maybe later on in high school or whatever?
I think the best costume I did was the Backstreet Boys backup dancer.
Okay.
I think that was the best one I ever came up with because it was like witty, and people were just like, some people were like, yeah, that's cool, and then other people were like, you're just in regular clothes. I don't think that counts as a costume. And yeah, that was probably my favorite.
So I think my favorites as a kid, so my mom never actually did, like, the store-bought stuff. She was never really big on, like, those store-bought outfits, which are making a comeback, by the way. So when we went to the Spirit Halloween store, like the easy laminate mask with, like, a coat that you wear and a poncho is probably a better description of it. We never did that. So she would make it. And two I really remember, there was one that was a He-Man. So it was like this...
Cute little He-Man.
This, like, weird...
Little loincloth.
Yeah, it was really weird. It's like the skirt thing that he wore, but it wasn't like... It was made out of, like, shag carpet or something. I don't know where she got the material from.
Fascinating.
And then there was, like, the chest thing that I wore, which was super cool. I don't remember that because I was really young. I was definitely probably in like the
He
five.
looks like he was like 4 or 5 in the
Yeah,
picture.
it was like 5 or 6 is what I was thinking. And I remember that one. Then the other one I remembered is I went as Data from Star Trek, and that was probably in
Data.
middle school. And so we're going out to she made it herself. So she took this sweater, and she used, if anybody remembers that puff paint back in the day.
Yep.
So she used puff paint.
Yes.
And basically took a yellow sweater and did the line and then painted in with puff paint this sweater. And then she made with, I don't want to say pottery, but it was like chromatic. And she made the communicator for me so I could pin it to the thing. And then she put a pin on the back of it. So I had that.
She was dedicated.
And then she got me a pair of black sweatpants to wear. So it looked like the Star Trek outfit. The only thing was it's Florida.
It's been hot as balls.
And I'm wearing a sweatshirt with puff paint on it, so it's like this thick sweatshirt. Pants. It was so freaking hot.
He is sweating.
I was so hot. It was just
miserable.
So hot. Yeah, it was like a miserable. And again, I had to go like 2.5 miles of walking. So like you're just walking around this big circle.
You did a lot of work for that candy. I hope you made bank that night.
I don't think so. I think our neighbors were pretty cheap too when we went out. There was only like a couple of people who even really decorated. There was one person who did like a graveyard, which was pretty cool. And then some other ones would do like little decorations, but there was never like one of those over the top people in our neighborhood, even though we had really rich houses towards the end because we were right on the Caloosahatchee River at the end of the road. But there was never really any big houses, and they were pretty cheap too. So nothing too great.
I did trick or treat in Aunt Jean's neighborhood one year, and that was the year I had the Barbie princess ballerina.
So Aunt Jean lived by the beach, Fort Myers Beach area.
I remember I trick or treat. I almost said TikToked. That wasn't a thing yet. I trick or treated with her at her house with like they're not my blood cousins, but I consider them my cousins.
My cousins.
My cousins. My friends. My not church friends. Mm-hmm. And that area used to be very wealthy.
Oh yeah.
And I remember like a lot of people would decorate their yards, and they had like all of this stuff like set up in their like huge properties. And I do think we made bank. And I do remember saying, trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. If you don't, I'll pull down your underwear.
Wow, that seems like a very interesting strategy to get candy from older folks.
I just thought it was funny. I just thought it was
You're
funny.
a kid. It's not surprising.
Most of the time, the other kids told me, don't say that. And a few times, the adults just kind of looked at me like, you're a weird one. So, yeah.
Well, that didn't change.
Nope. Still weird.
My favorite time trick-or-treating, though, was I had a friend, and it was probably the end of middle school, so I was probably in like 8th grade. I don't even remember what I went as. I don't think it was anything super fancy. I think it was like jeans and a shirt, so it was probably one of those like your kind of Backstreet Boys dancing thing. It was something to that effect. And he lived further down Del Prado towards like the somewhat wealthier neighborhoods. So his mom would actually have a car, and they would like jump on the back of the car, sit to the car, and then go to the next house, jump off, run, and
Wow.
the doorbell. That was fun.
That's living the dream right there.
Other than it started raining that time, but that was super fun because we would just go house to house, and if his mom heard about good candy, she would take us to the good neighborhood and try to get the candy from him. So that was probably my funnest one because it was just interesting.
She'd be looking
and different.
out for you guys.
Yeah, she was looking out for herself. I think she stole most of his candy.
Now, did your parents let you eat the candy that you worked very hard for?
Yeah. When I was younger,
Lucky.
When I was younger, we put it in a big bowl in the middle area. But once I got older, I just kept the candy and eventually ate it.
Yeah,
They would complain and make sure you didn't eat too much that night. But other than that,
Ours had to go in to a bag that my mother hid.
my mother hid.
And we could ask her for some. Eventually, I figured out my mother's hiding spots, and I would just go eat it anyways and not say anything to her. I was a very sneaky kid. See, that's why I feel like you shouldn't raise your kids like that, because they're just going to figure out a way around it. Especially if they're as brilliantly minded as I am.
Brilliantly minded, huh?
They're just going to figure out a workaround. Like, we're not going to go directly to the source. You're going to tell me no. I don't want you to tell me no. So I'm going to figure out where the hell you hid them.
True.
And that's what I did. I figured out where they hid the Christmas presents. I told you about the cheesecake bars the other night. Like those Philly cheesecake bars, they used to have them in the grocery store like many, many years ago, and they were good. And my mom would buy them, and they came in a 4-pack. She would let me eat like half of one. And I remember there would be times that I'd be home alone, and I'd be like, there's nothing to eat. I'm going to eat the whole box.
Yep.
And I'd eat the whole box, but I'd leave the wrappers in it, and I'd leave it in the fridge so that she didn't think that I ate it. And then she'd go in and get it, and she'd be like, who ate all my cheesecake bars? I don't know. Go talk to Dad. He's got a sweet tooth. Everything got blamed on my dad. I mean, and it was perfect because usually he did have one and here or there, and he'd be like, oh, maybe I ate it. I'll buy you some more. Like, that was his answer.
The funny thing was, if your mom didn't, like, treat you like that, you would have just been like, hey, I ate the rest of them, and then she'd just pick them up at the store, and then when she wanted one, they'd be there. But instead, doing the Gestapo thing meant that when she actually wanted one, they were never there.
Yep.
So it's just, like, bad planning.
Which I still struggle sometimes. Like, I'll eat stuff, and then, like, I don't want to tell people that I've ate it, even though, like, I bought it. It's mine. Somehow still in my brain, I go back to that moment and I'm like, I'm not going to tell anybody I ate it.
Yeah, you should let us know in the comments if your parents allowed you to eat the candy back in the day, or if you're a parent now.
Or did they make you give it to the dentist?
Oh my gosh, yeah. They started doing that towards the end where they'd be like, oh, you can trade it in at the dentist. No, thank you.
Like, unless I'm trading it in for like a PS5.
Right.
No. Like, that's one way to get kids to trade. If you were like, hey, kids, if you bring me all your Halloween candy, I'll give you like $60 for a video game.
I remember one of the times I went out trick-or-treating towards the end of my trick-or-treating days. One of our neighbors did give us a toothbrush and toothpaste.
You know what would be a really cool thing to give out? Assuming that you are in a neighborhood that you get trick-or-treaters, right? You go to GameStop. You go to their cheap video games that are like $5. You just buy a bunch of them, right? And you just randomly give them to kids.
I mean, you could. You can run into issues like, what system do they have? Do they have the system you bought the game for?
They can take it and they can sell it if they want to. Like, it's theirs to do what they want. But could you imagine as a kid, like, you could still throw some candy in there, obviously. Right. Randomly, you're just like, you're the lucky winner. And, like, in one of them, like, you had a golden ticket or something. And you're like, please reach out to me on my YouTube channel. And I will give you, I don't know, something. Like, that could be, like, a really cool promotion.
Yeah, if you could actually find places where they still trick-or-treat, which I don't know how many of those exist.
No, I think parents are just too afraid to let their kids, like, out of their sight now. And don't get me wrong, there's weirdos and there's crazies, but there's no more weirdos or crazies than there was 20, 30, 40 years ago.
There's actually less, according to statistics.
So, like, I remember the whole, like, don't accept candy from strangers because they'll hide razor blades in it, which has been proven over and over and over and over again that nobody is going to waste their time to put razor blades in children's candy.
Yeah, my favorite is around Halloween time, where they come out and they're like, watch out, they'll switch out candy for edibles. No, they won't.
Nobody's giving the kids the edibles.
No, they won't. Those things cost like $30 for a little bag, and you only get like 10 of them. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be switching those out for some cheap candy.
If the parents are going trick-or-treating and they would like an edible bag, that's a possibility, because we did live in a neighborhood where they were giving out beers.
Oh, yeah, we did do that one time. We didn't do it, but we were in the neighborhood that did.
I mean, there's a lot of legality there. Like, you got to kind of be careful. I wouldn't give it to people that clearly didn't look like they were older. But we lived in a neighborhood where they would just, like, give out beers and bottled water, which in Florida you need, because, like Gary said, it's hot.
Right.
People are hot, and that chocolate melts quickly. So, yeah. So, I just think that would be an interesting idea to give kids for Halloween.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, this is our podcast preview. So we're going to end it here. So don't forget to like that video.
Hit that subscribe button.
And ring that notification bell so you get notified when we do at least 3 videos a week.
And we'll see you guys. We'll come get you for the next one.
Ain't that the truth? Baby Ruth.
Baby Ruth.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
For those on the podcast, we'll be back in 1 sec.